I want to start with 3 ohms and then we'll do Gayatri Mantra. Om. Om.
Om.
Om. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Om Bhurbhuvasvaha Tat Saviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yona Prachodayat. Om Bhurbhuvasvaha Tat Saviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yona Prachodayat. Om Bhurbhuvasvaha Tat Saviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yona Prachodayat. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Saram, brothers and sisters, it's my distinct pleasure and honor to welcome Brother Isaac Tigrett to our lovely satsang this evening. As you know, Brother Isaac Tigrett does not need any introduction. He's not only one of the 3 wise men, but I feel he's an apostle of Swami these days. It's just wonderful to have. And I wanted Brother Isaac to know that anytime he's come on in the past, we always get emails saying, when can we have him back again? So that's a constant refrain. And more importantly, whenever you come online, Brother Isaac, we have devotees from around the world who actually join this webinar. So just a delight to have you. Without any further ado, we're going to welcome you and turn it over. Mehran, you want to start? Brother Isaac always likes the Q&A model, so I'll turn it over to you.
Brother Isaac, sir, I would like to really from the bottom of my heart, thank you. Thank you for being with us. We are in a most auspicious time that to be serving Swami, and it brings tears to my eyes to know that we are right now with you. You've accepted to be with us. It's such an honor, such blessing, such joy. And we really thank you, Isaac, sir, for this great opportunity. Now, you've been here twice on our program, and I have to tell you, first of all, you broke the record. I mean, we had 2 or 3 times the number of attendance has gone up by 2 or 3 times. This was one issue. The other issue is that, well, the other point is that right after the program, sir, I was getting bombarded by email. When can we ask Isaac, sir, to come again? And here we go. So we are really grateful for these opportunities. And in preparation for this precious time that you've given us, we've asking devotees, we asked them to give us the top questions on their mind that they would love to seek your wisdom. And I would like to ask the first question. And after that, my sister Rashmi and my sister Gail, they will be asking questions. We will rotate through the questions. Please take your time as much as you want, sir, to answer. We love every word you say. We just love listening to you. The first question, it says, considering all your interaction with Satya Sai Baba and now Sadhguru Madhusudan Sai, can you condense the 3 most important or impactful lessons you've learned? What are the 3 important life-changing experiences you've had with them?
3? You mean only 3? It's a daily lesson. It's a daily lesson. Yesterday, I was having second thoughts about doing this. And I said, no, you know, I've done this with the same group who I love and adore, and I'm honored that you would have me on. But I said, I'm not feeling really good. Maybe I won't do it, and I'll let them know. But as you know, I've been writing this book about my relationship, not only with Sai Baba, but the many, many years I spent with the yogini Phyllis Crystal and going into other realms with her. So I was listening to one of these sessions from 1990, as a matter of fact. And in that session, I was also making the same questions to Swami. He was there. I was going, I don't want to go speak in Philadelphia or wherever it was. He said, no, that's your job. You have to speak. You know, even if one person gets it, it's very important that you speak. And that was my lesson for yesterday. And that's why I'm here today. Because he's always there if you're looking for him, and it's very subtle and very wonderful. You can't say there are 3 particular lessons that you've learned, because it seems most of the lessons I've learned I forget and then remember again, and then forget again, and then remember again, because life is so we're absolutely inundated with so much information, not only from the 5 senses that demand that you think you're the mind and the body. You wake up in the morning, you see, you taste, you hear, you look, you know you're the mind, you know the body, and you don't really connect with your soul power, the heart that lies at the middle of your solar plexus. So it's very difficult for all of us. This is the end of the Kali Yuga. This is serious business, man. This is, and I'll tell you, in all these sessions that we were working on, 690 different reveries Phyllis and I did, 10 years with Swami's command. As you know, I left, he told me to leave my family and go and get a house near this lady, and that she was a yogini and this was her last life and she had great power, and that the 2 of us both brought in certain things he needed for his mission. So it was, it's lessons I learned every day that we met that I forget, like all of us. We're all so fragile. And this is the time when everything is supposed to be destroyed. Confidence is the first thing that's been destroyed all over the world, between rich and poor. One of the greatest things that happened was the pandemic. This hasn't been a world event for 60,000 years. It affected the entire planet until this virus came. Well, who do you think put the virus on the planet? It's part of something called the shaking, the destruction of things that we are so attached to and believe in. And now there's great confusion, and it continues on and on, because you can't really bring all of the negative energy into a new age, which is apparently at hand, and I believe it is. So learning lessons is a daily thing for everybody. I don't care how close you have come or how many metaphysical experiences you've had or forgotten. It's a constant battle to overcome the mind. So your material life and your physical life are woven together like a fabric. They can't be torn apart, and they are just as powerful every single day. Spirituality is not something that you go to a certain ceremony, whether it's getting a string on your wrist, or going to pray at a temple or a synagogue, or saying mantras, or whatever it is on certain days. It's every waking moment, if you can focus. And the fact that this fabric cannot be, it's together, both are occurring simultaneously. One very dramatic and very powerful with the mind and all this input from all these things in the earth. That's why you have to spend time, as Swami always said, you can find God in total silence. And that's where you have to quiet the brain and quiet your situation, which just means practice a little bit. It's just being quiet and asking him questions and asking him to guide you. I mean, every time he made so many things for me that I lost. This is a diamond ring that he made many diamonds for me over the years. It's 50 years now. And every time he made one, what's that, Tigrett? Oh, that's a diamond. He said, no, die mind. Again, reminding you, take yourself so seriously, and everything that happens around you so seriously. And we're very fragile creatures. We're very fragile creatures. We have so many dark emotions as we have, emotions of positive feelings and so forth. We also have many dark. It's all part of being human. I mean, it's just like everybody knows about me and Sai in my life from the time the hospital was built in 1990. I was 42 years old. Nobody knows how I got there. Nobody knows what it was like to be struggling with drugs or alcohol, or all kinds of people trying to take things away from you, or deaths in the family, or all the things that happen to everyone else. This is part of the growing process. And my business in particular was one that was wild and crazy, and everybody in the world wanted to be there. And it continued on with the House of Blues. It even became more powerful. So there was distractions all the time. It was very hard for me to stay on the path. And many times I hurled myself off, let me tell you. But it was just my background, my situation. And I got a few things I'll show you all in a few minutes, but I don't want to bore you with too much chat. Why don't we go on to the next subject?
Sure. No, actually, Isaac sir, not a single word you say that we don't love. So please, we love listening to your wisdom. Next question is actually from one of our brothers, and Rashmi's sister, Dr. Rashmi, is going to ask. Rashmi, please go ahead.
Yeah, Sairam, Brother Isaac.
Sarah, oh, how are you? Nice to see you again.
I'm good. Good to see you again. First of all, I want to say that there are many people joined from different parts of the world who are saying Sairam to you from Venezuela, Colombia, Australia, Macedonia, Santa Monica too, and Washington, D.C. Okay, let me go to the next question from a youth. The question is, why is the world set up so that beings, organizations, foundations, or species are constantly competing with each other? What is the greater purpose of this competition? And how can we compete with honor, respect, equanimity, and determination?
It's the conflict itself that pulls out of you how you're going to respond. If someone hates you, are you going to hate them back? You know, if someone is telling stories about you, are you going to slander them? I mean, these are all tests. Everything is a test. It's all part of your evolution. It's a very short life. You may think it's a long life. Look, the last time I blinked, I was 30. Now I'm 74. I never dreamed I'd live this long, to tell you the truth. I never thought I'd live past 30. But it's a short life, and to worry about why is the conflict? Of course it's there. But that's where the action is. That's where you're tested. That's where you're constantly, your value system is growing. The more you give light from darkness, the more light you become. You know, it's an amazing thing. It's, you know, it's like when I did the little Hard Rock Cafe, I was 22, it was 1971. I was just very, very lucky. God, Sai Baba was guiding me all the way. And I was about to give it up a year or two later because the revolution, the peace and love revolution, which I was a part of, was fading away. And I was down in Puttaparthi. It was my first visit there to the ashram. And I was there, I'd met him before in Whitefield, but I was there because I was worried, you know, what can I want to give this up. It's the revolution is over. And that's when I saw a little sign in the canteen. You've all heard before, love all, serve all. I had a metaphysical experience. It was like I was looking at myself, my duty, my right, the demand from Swami. It just entered my entire body. I sat there, I don't know, in a trance. I don't know how long, and then finally someone said, move off, move off. But I took that and I put it in my life, in my business, and it wasn't just an expression. It was what I practiced. It's what I'd always practiced. I always adored everyone. I always felt that there were gods approaching. I was so insecure in my earliest days that, you know, when people would even come to talk to me, I was honored that anyone would want to speak to me. And that intuitive nature suddenly realized that this was a great opportunity. It was the gods approaching it. So the conflict, you might as well tighten your seatbelt. It's going to happen until your very last day. You know, it's absolutely the system, the educational system, the high school, the university, wherever you might be in your evolution. It's absolutely essential to hone in on your true value system. So you shouldn't, and you shouldn't take it so personally either. I mean, you know, because I've been in the public eye, I've had people say ugly things about me, and especially in the Psi organization. It was horrific, not only because I was one of the few Caucasian Westerners hanging next to him all the time, but people were furious that I, you know, had a business that sold alcohol and meat, and for young people, and wild crazy nights and all that. They said, this is crazy. In fact, I brought something to read that's helped me a great deal. I just found it the other day in writing this book. If I can find my dear glasses. Oh, I'm such a wreck. But I found this the other day, and I thought about it today before the meeting, because it's not that I want to blow my own horn, because everything that Swami said had meaning to it. It wasn't just I was getting attention. He used me to teach others. And this was the greatest joy that I could have in my life. So this was in Cody Canal. We were up there at we're up there at one of the retreats, and I'm going to take the sticker off the glasses. Anyway, he asked me to give a speech on metaphysics, because every time I spoke, no matter where I was with him, and I have recordings of over 100 speeches, just those last 7 years we traveled around the world. I don't know, someone made a recording of them, and I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful for lots of things. A couple of people I want to mention too shortly. But I found this, and this was taken from the actual audio. I just gotten up and had spoken about all these metaphysical possibilities. And this is what Sai Baba had to say. Tigrett has spoken of a great many things. It's rather like a big buffet. You can pick up from his word what appeals to you, but at least eat a little, digest and assimilate it, and benefit from it. He came as a young boy, but he did not get Sai Baba as easily as all you have done. He went to many places, seeking spiritual guidance, looking for God, looking for the truth behind everything that exists, and made many, many trips to India, over 100 actually, before he spoke to me again 15 years later. Oh, here we go. Looking for the truth behind everything that exists, and made many trips to India. No guru called him to sit at his feet inside a Kodaikanal bungalow to teach him all the great truths in such a simple fashion. He had to work his way up very, very hard, and had to come to India many times just to be in my presence, but I never got a chance to speak to him. He never got a chance to speak to me. I see small children here. If I don't speak to them or look at them or take their letter or ask them something, they all feel upset. Oh, we have come to Kodaikanal. Swami's not looking at us. Swami's not talking to us. Swami is not doing this or doing that. Let alone bring him to Kodaikanal. That was out of the question, but he waited and waited for 17 years. You know, it's funny, I always counted 15. He insisted 17. He must know something I don't. 17 years until I finally called him when he was ready. Then with one word from me, he surrendered everything that he had built up over the years of hard work and struggle, sold his whole business chain that he had offered everything to me to build the super special, especially hospital in Puttaparthi. Somebody may ask, why would Swami accept funds which have been generated out of a business that doesn't really seem to be in accordance with the principles of Sai general teachings? But to tell you the truth, what business he did was not important to me. It was how he did it that was really important. He did it with great love and great sense of service and great sacrifice, and never considered himself to be the owner. He always knew it was all given by me and all belonged to only me. He was just an instrument, a guardian, a caretaker. So it was not difficult for him to let it go all of a sudden when I called him and told him to do so. People see the outer tiger and develop their own opinions about him. But I see the inner tiger. That's what he called me, the inner tiger. And that is what makes me always want to keep him with me, to love and bless him. Do not go by other outer appearances. They are deceptive. What is within is far more important. And I know I see inside, S-A-I, see always inside. That is the Sai principle. Looking at the outside is not my way. As a result, I could love people, care for them, do everything for them equally, because I do not see these outer differences. I see the inner truth, which is pure love. You too must develop the vision to look within yourself and within others to find that the truth, the reality is just the same. What do they know about him? They simply talk without any understanding. If they understood even 1% of Tigrett, they would shut their mouths. But if they do not spare God, how can they spare a devotee? People who talk, talk. People who do. Very happy. Is lunch ready? So I hope that gives you just an idea of, you can imagine the conflict I had in my own heart of, am I doing the wrong thing? And this, everything, but I knew I was doing it for him, and I knew I was doing it in a way. This love all, serve all was not some silly gesture or word or motto. I practice it every day. I talk to my young kids every day. This is a secret. And it is a secret. Only through compassion for others can you even raise your consciousness. Most of you will sit there and go on this treadmill of life and all this nonsense and so forth. And the next thing you're the walking dead. you're not growing, you're not going anywhere. Because I've had so many turmoils in my life, it allowed me to restart my life over and over again, but also grabbing the things that the master had given me. So I hope you enjoyed that little thing. It really made me so happy when he said that. He rarely spoke about me, and I just found it. And I thought maybe it would, some of you could relate to it. It's not what you do, it's how you do it.
Yes.
I heard him say several times, you can be a butcher or a hangman. It doesn't make any difference what you do, it's how you do it. As long as you put the 5 Vedic values in your life, in your work, in your relationships with the planet, with your family, with your neighbors, with your country, then it's fine.
Thank you for sharing that. That was very helpful. I'll pass it on to Sister Gail for another question. And more people are saying hi from Norway, Slovenia, Ukraine, Mexico, Singapore, Switzerland, Bolivia. So Sister Gail, please take over.
It's
Isaac.
hi. Oh, you've frozen.
You know, for someone here is not well, you look so faithful. As one of the questions by one of the people, they said, Swami said that you've done things with great love. They did that same quote. And they said, how did you get to that place of selflessness and to being an instrument rather than the doer? How did you do that? Because we all know that it's like, as Vivek said when he introduced you, that you're one of the 3 wise men. You know, you've watched, and so you're going to be written up in perpetuity because you've accompanied God incarnated and Sadhguru, who's gone from I to we to he, and you've been the instrument that was there serving them. And we all want to know your story because it's so inspirational.
Well, in fact, Sai Baba was after me for years, telling me I was going to write this book. And I kept saying, no, I'm not. The whole idea of an autobiography was foul to me, writing about myself, writing about whatever. Then he said, no, you're going to write a book, and blah, blah, blah. When you've got to start writing, I never did. He told me over and over again. Then Madhusudan came along, Sai Baba talking through him. I've seen Sai enter his body and leave his body. There was no doubt that Sai was there. I traveled with Madhusudan for 5 years and watched him be raised to this high level. But Swami was still speaking through him. And of course, that's not happening now because the 96th year came and went. Swami said, my mission will last for 96 years. That's why everybody was so upset when he died early. Even though he sent me out to tell everybody he was going to leave earlier than he had said, it upset many people, left him for many reasons. They're just passing through this opportunity. But, I can only tell you that, I've had now gone back to many, many lifetimes that he's taken me back to, where I've seen how many people I harmed, where I had great power, murdered millions. Was given incredible power of all sorts, not just material power, but spiritual power. And I abused it. I started using it for what I wanted to use it for rather than asking him. He took Phyllis and I back to 2 in particular lives and others to show us and terrify us to see what you had done in graphic detail. And he said, this is why you're both here. This life is to repay all the damage that you made. And I brought you in with those talents, some of those talents that you had in those ancient times to help me with this work. So this was no one lifetime jump, many, 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 many lifetimes. And all of you have had thousands of them, thousands. There's no time on the other side. The whole way that the thing works is so simple. But yes, you've all had many lifetimes, and you usually take up from where you left off from the last life. And you take up with the same people that you created the karma with. They're brought in too. It's a very exciting thing, but you have the opportunity to evolute or devolute. A lot of people don't evolute at all. They search for the answer to things. They search for questions and definitions and all that sort of thing. That's just mental. It's what you do, it's how you act. It's how you act and how pure your thoughts are that is so important. I mean, just like, Sai saying, well, this guy, he did his work with the 5 Vedic values, and it wasn't that, and I did, and I instilled it in every kid that came into my life. And that was the most exciting thing, was talking to these kids. I mean, I'm writing a book now. Oh God, it's so funny. Where is that? I thought I had it over here somewhere. I must show you the, I have it, the cover of the book. You want to know how I got here? I had a tragic upbringing, which was full of death and destruction and violence, suicide, lovelessness in particular. And I was a broken person. And I was so broken that I had to, my parents sent me off, and it went past the 9th grade. They sent me off to work in factories in England, just in Carlisle, the armpit of England. But then he gave me this amazing way to make money, bringing these cars back. It started with £600 investment. You may have heard the story. The next thing you know, I'm turning 19, 2 years of 8 months of flipping these cars with my original investment. And I decided that I want to use that to celebrate the heroes of the revolution. I turned 19, I had $250,000. It was 1969. And so first of all, I ended up giving a lot of it away to my friends. And then I had enough to open the Hard Rock and did. But when I did, I just came out of this horror scene where I'd been withdrawn. I had to learn to speak. The Hard Rock gave my voice back. But I was in such a bad way. I blamed myself for both of my brother's death, for my parents' activities and so forth. And while I was doing the Hard Rock, I was actually drinking myself to death. I wanted to commit suicide. I was 22 years old, and the first year of the Hard Rock, I would work as hard as I could, but I'd come back home at night and drink a 5th of Jack Daniels. Big deal, but alcohol was the big thing to try to kill myself. And the Beatles graphics designer who'd done the logo, who became one of my best friends, he made a picture. He drew a picture of me that first year. It opened in June of 71, and at the Christmas of 72, he loved me, was so worried about me, he drew a picture, this amazing graphics designer, of what I was like in those days. And that is going to be the cover to this book I'm writing, just to let everybody know where I come from. So I'm going to show it to you. That's me riding a rail to hell. The book is called Within and Without, Isaac Tigrett. But you see what I look like. I was tortured. It went on for years. I could work better than anyone I ever saw. I could work endless hours, but when I was alone and within myself and not working and having this wonderful business, I was totally self-destructive. That's why I wanted to put this on the cover of the book. That's where I came from. That's where Baba sent me. That's what he gave me to deal with. The great lesson in luck for me is that instead of it leaving these permanent scars, although I still have a few, he gave me guidance out of this whole thing. He gave me that love all, serve all, and doing that in the day and being pure and real about it and not any nonsense. It's not any verbal, not and loving these kids and adoring. They're all younger than me. They're all about my age, actually. Some were younger, but I was only 22 years old. So doing that in the day, spreading love and peace and trying to build a business on that, and then doing this at night. You got to be kidding me. Where does that come from? He was preparing me for the work that I was about to do, because what that did, in fact, I asked him when I first called me in, some 15, he says 17 years later, he said, any questions? And I said, yes, I have a question. Why was I born into a family where there was so much lovelessness and death, insanity, suicide, violence, destruction? He sort of smiled at me. He said, well, to soften your heart. And I realized then what I thought was a curse was a blessing, because to soften the heart of that creature that came in from past lives, it was so dangerous. I needed to have those. those things to happen to me. I needed to come into the world in a dark and horrible place where I'd put other people. And I needed to find my way out of it. But the key was what he said to me. Why was I born into a family, which many of you are watching now have had the same problems, same difficulties, nothing new. It's all part of life. But the key to my release from all of that was, look, to soften your heart. How did I get the compassion to go on? How did I get the compassion to do anything? And especially, how would I recognize him if I hadn't opened my heart and mind up to a higher nature? So I thought I'd share that with you all who think I'm such a hero. I'm just another fella. It's just that I brought in remarkable things from past lives. Swami wanted me to help me with his mission with Phyllis, which we did actively. I'm writing a book about that and everything else that Swami is through Madhusudhan, and then Madhusudhan himself just recently, said you've got to finish the book. So I've been here writing the book for the last 2 years, and I hope to have something out. I might leak out little things on some website that all of you can look at from time to time.
Thank you, sir. There is a question from the devotees, and the question reads, how does one know when you're experiencing karma from a previous birth as opposed to karma from current birth?
Well, you're thrust into these situations from your past karma. There's no doubt about it. There is also something called instant karma. Karma can last through many lifetimes. It's not just the next life. You pick it up, but you may not end that karma. You may not, when my brother committed suicide, one of the things he did, the Swami has told me, it was it's worse than murder. He said, it's worse than murder because of the way things work, you've been brought back into this life with all the people you created the karma with to work it out, to go through the next playlet with them. And if you kill yourself, not only do you throw your karmic clock off, but everyone else that you're involved with as well. And that is totally the way it works. So there's instant karma. Kill somebody, you go to jail. That's really called instant karma. But of course, you're creating new karma while you're here. In fact, it's sort of fascinating, as I was shown. It's like two concentric circles when you're here. One circle, you're creating new karma. One is going the opposite direction, you're destroying old karma. So you have these two concentric circles going. Which one is going to win? How far can you really go? Not very far. That's why you have many lifetimes. It's a long, long play, very long. So you're creating karma and you're destroying karma at the same time. That's why we just edge a little bit ahead, a little bit ahead. It's all the journey to the Atma, from Atma to Atma. It's always been the same. It will never change.
The next question is how to balance spiritual path while also pursuing material and career success. As a young person with both material and spiritual dreams, they feel like two disconnected worlds. When I'm in one, I forget the other. Is it possible to live fully in both?
Of course, you are doing it all the time. As I said, your material life and your spiritual life are woven together as a fabric. You can't separate them. It isn't you do that and then this is no. It's woven. It's woven like a fabric. It's constant. It's just that your ability to have the control enough to know. I mean, you have to live life. You look at the three gunas. If you read the Bhagavad Gita, and I'm going to show you a book you should all have shortly. But the three gunas, your mind is in one of three states. You're either in tamasic, which is mean total delusion. You drink alcohol, you have bad habits, you keep falling into the same thing, you're denying yourself life. It can be rajasic, where you're in the world and you do things. And there's types of food for rajasic people. Or you're saswatic, when you're in that higher nature. But if you read the Bhagavad Gita, it will tell you that you're going through one of them all the time. They're like slipping in and out of your reality, of your thoughts, of where you're at. You just have to be very conscious, you know, when you're in, especially tamasic is just wasting time. It's just delusion, wasting time, watching TV all day, you know, smoking too much pot, you know, or whatever it is your vice is, smoking too many cigarettes, or falling back into that same thing all the time. So it's a constant battle, and you should welcome it. It's not, you can't separate the two. It's impossible. You have to be aware of that fabric. One's very loud, the material world. One's very demanding on your mind. The other's demanding on your heart. Your heart, where does the compassion come from? Does that compassion really come from your mind? Where is mercy come from? Does that come from your mind? No, it comes from your spiritual identity. You can't separate the two.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's really close to another question that was, because it says, you know, Swami tells us to have constant integrated awareness. And how do you move from it being an intellectual understanding to really living that process? Are there any pointers that you can give to help us move more, having that constant integrated awareness?
You just believe in it. You believe in whatever's happening. And if you go too far in one direction, you say, oh my God, I'm falling into that pit again, and I must move back to the other side. It's no pointers. I mean, each of us are living this very strange illusionary existence. And to me, it is. It's Maya. The world is Maya. It's an illusion. I mean, Swami tells a story so many times. I've heard him say, look, you're in a dream. You're dreaming, and the dreaming is real, and you're seeing things, and you're frightening, and you're running, and you're meeting people, and things are happening. It's so real. You don't even know you're dreaming. You just, that's reality. And then you wake up, and you wake up into another dream, which is this reality. It's just another dream. So if you can think about, I had a dream the other night. I rarely dream, and I was running and carrying on and doing this and doing that. And I was excited one moment and frightened the next, and not sure the next, and everything. It was such a real emotional experience, and it was somewhat horrible. It wasn't a nightmare, but it was confusion and not having clarity, but running and happy one moment and the whole thing. And then I woke up. I went, oh my God, my daughter's going crazy. What am I going to do? You know, I've got to help her in some way. Oh, this is terrible. You know, because that was this dream happening. So I know it's hard to understand. It's beyond comprehension. But then Sai Baba, or the reflection, he's the reflection of the absolute. All the masters were simply reflections of the absolute. But you too are a reflection of the absolute. There is no doubt in my mind that you are all divine and you're all immortal, because that's your true nature. That's this is your soul. The soul enters the body, it leaves the body. It goes on. You know, I've left my body so many times, and Swami's taken me here, there, and everywhere. But it's a spiritual body that I'm traveling in. And he brings me back here, and he sets me down. And I wonder, why can't you take? Why'd you bring me back? Why did you bring me back? Because I still have things to do within myself. But this is a constant. It's nothing to be frightened of, and you're not going to find answers. You're only going to find more questions, which are wonderful.
And so there is the next question is asking you. It says, please ask Isaac Sir for an update on mystic enophs after 7th ray.
I love that. I love that. I love that. I'll first of all, the mystic end of the 7th ray, a quick story, a long story. I've told this before to you all, but I'll mention it again because the mystic end keeps coming up and it's so interesting to me. When I was building the hospital, I was in charge of the architectural people, of the building people, and the medical people, and was meeting with them constantly. And because Swami had shown me other things, I said to him, are we going to have some of these metaphysical, amazing machines and healing techniques and so forth in this hospital? Oh, yes, many millions will come, many, many millions. And all of a sudden we're there, we're working, and I've got with the architects, and all of a sudden allopathic medicine, medicine of today filled up the whole hospital. And I went to him and said, Swami, what about the wonderful things that can be brought into this world now that are beyond people's understanding, that can heal so much quicker than this allopathic medicine things we've seen? And he said, wait. I waited 15 years, and one day he called me in. He said, you ready to do the spiritual school? I said, what spiritual school? He said, the spiritual school. I said, what spiritual school? He said, the one that we were talking about 15 years ago. This is the best part of the story, not the actual thing. But so I said, yes. He said, I am going to send you. And I know when he says that, he means he's going to send it telepathically to me. I'm going to send you the complete drawings of this amazing place. But you got to be ready. So I went down into Bangalore. I got my little art bag with this compass and the papers and pens and everything ready to draw and I put it in a little bag. I sat right there at his front door of his interview room. And he would come out every day. He'd point at the satchel. He said, what is that? And of course, everybody's listening because every time he talked to me, everybody was trying to figure out what he's saying to that crazy boy. I said, this is for the spiritual school. Said, yes, very good. And then he come out another time and he'd say, is that the spiritual school? He said, put it underneath. Don't let anyone see it. Put it underneath your chair. This went on for a year and a half. I carried this thing like a good servant, waiting. First I wait 15 years and he's ready to go, but I got to wait another year and a half. This is the way it comes. This is the price you pay. So anyway, we had this 1,000 moon ceremony, which was in the stadium. They had 8 yantra pits. They had something like 70 or 80 priests. They were doing, it was so amazing because to me, every morning in Puta Party, just hearing the Vedic chants, especially over a PA system, it just, the harmonics put me into a different world. It does that to everybody if you really get into it. So this was like 90 priests, 80 priests, all with mics, all doing different mantras simultaneously. So this harmonics, and I'm just out of my mind. And someone hit me. I had my eyes closed. I was sitting in the VIP section next to the stage. And a guy hit me. He said, Swami's looking at you. I looked up at him, and all of a sudden, the drawing started coming. I opened the little bag. I started drawing. Yes. I'm really opening eyes only to see what I was drawing. I draw like a child. That went on for an hour and a half. Okay, 30, 40, 50 drawings. And he then called me in and he said, look, this is something that's going to happen 200 years from now. These are going to be spiritual high places with all these other things going on. He said, but I wanted to show you what it was going to be like. And I said, fine, wonderful. I'll put it away. And I have other things he's given me that I put away for posterity or whatever. And he eventually said, I want you to do a little film. Don't use all the magical stuff I showed, just a general idea. Show them some of the fun things, make 6 or 7 things out of 70, 80, 90 drawings, including an entire city built like a mandala with energy power coming out of it. It's like fairy tales. And so we made this little film. Toshi Ando, this wonderful Japanese devotee who was a computer artist, we worked for 7, 8 months just to do this little 7-minute film. And Swami said, just let it out. And I want young people to know that there's light at the end of the tunnel, because many of them don't see any light at the end of the tunnel. And that was the purpose of the whole thing. It was never meant to happen. It was never meant to happen at all. He said, it will happen in a couple of 100 years. He said, there'll be many of them and also urban ones. And he had me design an urban one as well, which he approved. I have all those drawings tucked away, and who knows if it'll happen or it won't happen. But the idea, the illusion of it, and it's so fantastic and so the tip of the iceberg, it can also lead people to an inner thoughts, hopefully. So maybe that was all it was for. I don't know. All I know is I do what I'm told. I don't want to get any more trouble than I've been in. So that's the story of, and it's online somewhere. I have a website. It's on that isaac-tigrett.com, which is just a lot of nonsense about what I've done. But it's on there somewhere, I think. That's the mystic end.
Thank you, brother. So moving on to next question. This is very interesting. How do I get Swami's guidance on my spiritual questions? I ask him things in my prayers, but how can I hear him? What are some ways to hear his answers?
That's a real matter of faith. I've told this story actually in the last 2 times that we got together, and I can only tell you how I learned to, I forget what year it was, but there was a big birthday, and as you know, hundreds of thousands of people come for the birthday. In the evening, like Krishna, he sits in a jula, lays in a jula, and usually that's when they have special artists singing or playing or whatever. So my seat was down in the orchestra pit there at the stadium, and I went and he came in. He said, "Come up here, you come up here." And he said, "I want you to push the jula this year." So I started pushing. I went behind. I felt so honored. I mean, pushing Krishna. He's supposed to be the incarnation of Krishna. I believe him to be even more. But I started pushing this jula, just putting it out. I just drifted off into some other place. I don't know what happened. All I know is some friends had to take me back to my room, and I woke up and I was just had this amazing euphoric inner feeling of the jula being in my heart and him in the jula swinging just like he was there that night. And a little jula in my heart, just with his head like this, just, and he said, "Speak to me." So I started asking him questions. And the first thing he did was make fun of me like he always does. It reminded me that it was him, not some imagination or anything else. But he said, "Now that you know that I'm here, now you have to learn how to speak to me." And I said, "Okay, how do I do that?" He said, "Well," and he's made me give speeches about this all over the world, by the way, all over the world. To teach anyone that can do it, and anyone can, but it's a matter of faith and concentration. He said, "You imagine me in your heart in whatever form you want to have it, or whatever deity you want to have it. It doesn't make any difference. And you ask a question, and the first answer you get, the first one is me." But most people, when they're asking questions of their own conscious or humanity, whatever, they go, "Oh, is it? No, maybe it's like, oh, the second thought, the third thought, the fifth, the sixth thought. Oh, maybe it's this, no, that's wrong. Maybe it's like this." But was that here? He said, "I am answering. The first answer is always me. If you are pure and you've got me in your heart and you have faith, that first answer will always be me, always." And that's how I communicate with him. And unfortunately, I'm human and frail and silly and preoccupied with all this silly stuff around me, and I'll forget to do it for a week or two. And he's done this to me many times. I'll go, "Oh, are you still there? You still there?" He said, "Why haven't you spoken to me in 2 weeks? It's been 2 weeks since you talked to me." So he's always been firm with me, but it's the way that I learned to communicate. It came out of an extraordinary set of circumstances where he fixed the energy of that whole moment of pushing him on the jula. He fixed it into my heart. And that's my good fortune. Have faith totally. And always the first answer is this. And he has asked me to say this, I guess, in speeches 50 times. Explain to them the jula, explain to them how they can talk to me. So it's something you must experiment with yourself. And you may not get the answer you want, by the way, because people don't get the answer they want. They, "Oh, no, that can't be right. It must be something else." But it's the quiet. You can find God in quiet and peace. He's inside. It's the absolute. It's not just Sai Baba. Sai Baba is a reflection of the absolute, just as you are. You're all immortal, and you can't die. It's impossible. You transform, and you transform with consciousness as well. And I've told the story of some of my events and so forth, and there'll be more crazy things in this book, I'm sure.
Thank you so much. Sister Gail? You are on mute, Sister Gail.
Sorry, I muted myself because my internet is unstable and it keeps wavering, so I muted myself. That was so beautiful, Isaac, envisioning the jula in our hearts of Krishna. That's really wonderful. And I'll carry that with me. I know I will.
Practice makes perfect.
Such a beautiful image. Yeah, thank you. So the next question that came up is said, pardon?
No, it's simple like everything.
Yeah.
All to know that I'm drinking incredible coconut milk from India that I import into my house. like I did in Puttaparthi every morning from a coconut.
Cheers to your good health.
Thank you.
So the next question is, do you have any advice or words of wisdom on how we can take greater advantage of the spiritual opportunities that we have been so blessed with, and how we can serve Swami in a more impactful way?
Service to man is service to God. It's that simple. Service to man is service to God. That's Sai Baba over and over and over again. Service to your fellow man. But with the same thoughts and feelings, which he said, Tigrett is not what he did, it's how he did it. So service to others. I had a friend the other day, he was over here, gentleman, and he was talking, I was talking to him about compassion and so forth. And he was sort of, I said, do you see those guys at the end of the freeways that are begging with their little cards and everything all over LA? I said, in my whole life, if I saw one of those persons or someone on the street or whatever it was, because of my nature, I'll go around the block. I'll give them every penny I've got in my wallet. I don't stop every time. I said, but you don't have to do that. That's not important, because I was taught what you're supposed to do. When you see one of those people, that beggar in India, that horrible person that's on the street, that's so vulgar and whatever, that person who's begging over there for you to give him $5, he said, you don't have to talk to them. You don't have to touch them. You don't have to do anything. Send them love. Just look at them instead of looking away. Oh my God, there's something ugly in the world. I don't want to see the ugly things in the world. They're too ugly. I can't. That was an opportunity when you saw that person. An opportunity to either shun it, stop off that wonderful, compassionate part of yourself, or just send love to him. It's so powerful. It's everything. You don't have to give him money. You don't have to do this, but you don't do this. That's ugly. I don't want that in my life. That's something I can't have. You just send them love. You send them compassion. You literally are raising your consciousness. They are doing you the service. You're not doing it to them. They're doing you the service by allowing you to raise your consciousness and give it to someone else except yourself.
Sir Isaac, it's I wonder how much time we have. We have infinite number of questions to continue.
I am here all night if you want to hang out with me. My duty. This is my duty.
Okay, there are a couple of questions that they are basically asking the same thing, and they are saying that it says, please talk about your transition to Sadhguru Madhusudan Sai after Swami left his mortal coil. If you please.
Yes, of course, of course. Well, Swami first had me go out alone, the only one. He sent me to Singapore in 2007. And it was a huge audience there, almost 3,000 people. He said, you go on this date, give a speech at this hour, blah, blah, blah. We got Dr. Yo or somebody was in charge. And in that speech, which he talked through me, as I pray he's doing now, he said, tell everybody that I'm leaving. I said, he's leaving, by the way. He told me he's not going to live to be 96. He's going to leave before that. And I thought I was going to get stoned before I got out of the place. And then 2 years later, he said, go to Texas, go to this side meeting at this church and tell him I'm leaving early. And so I became the bad guy, sort of ruining the fairy tale of Swami living to 96. And then when he didn't live to 96, again, a great Leela of his, many people left. He lied to us. He lied to us. You know, he lied to us. He's gone, and many people left. Many people left when all the murders happened. There were all kinds of things that he threw at all of his devotees. And he told me before a series of ugly things happened. He said, I'm going to separate the wheat from the chaff. Most of these people are around because I'm famous. They came to see the Messiah. They want a ring. They want to see a miracle. They want to believe in this. They want to believe in that. They're sitting. They're not devotees. He said, I'm going to run all of them off. And part of that last thing was dying early, 10 years early. But he told me before he left, he said, I've been living in the ashram for years and years. And he said, Tigrett, you stay in your room. this is before he died. You stay in your room. I'm not going anywhere. I've always been here. I never arrived. Where am I going to go to? And he said, you stay in your room. I'll call you. We have much work to do. So I stayed in my room. I went to Omkar every morning, and I went to all the wonderful things I enjoyed so much there. And about a year or so went by, and I got a call from Murti, Sri Murti. And I'd seen him at the ashram in Puttaparthi several times. I knew that he was one of Swami's main educational teacher guys. And I had great respect for him. I had great vibes from him. So when he called me, he said, Swami's with me now. He's here and he wants you to come right now to see him. I said, well, where is that? They said, it's this little school called Mutnahali. Now, there'd been a sign on the road, those thousands of trips I took to and from Puttaparthi that said, Sai Gamma, pointing, and when you go through Chikbalapur, but no one ever went there. No one ever knew of him going there. They knew that it was one of his schools, that this wonderful man had left him, that died prematurely. And Swami had been sneaking over there, really, because he was going in and out. And he'd been brought in some architects and people, and had started building things, lots of things, but nobody even knew, not even the Central Trust, because Swami had the money and he was writing the checks. He was writing the checks. So he hit it incredibly well. So I went there. It was amazing. All these buildings were being built, and there was beautiful sort of mountain. I mean, that's in the Nandi Hills. It's a famous religious place where there was wars and battles and demons dropped to the ground and so forth. But all these stones were part of the battle. And there was a group of stones at the top. Before he died, he just approved some plans to build this. It's one of the last things he did. He gave him a check for whatever, $8 million to do all this stuff. So I went to this school and I was amazed, because not only was, it was beautiful, but it was growing. It's tripled in size since the time I went there. So I went up to the house up the hill and went inside, and there was Murti, and we went into this little interview room, and there was a big throne, and I sensed that Sai was on the throne, and at his feet was this boy who was called Madhusudan, who I'd seen in the ashram. He's one of his gold medal students and seen him around a lot. Swami talking to him and carrying on. So Madhusudan was receiving telepathically at that point, from Sai Baba. He was receiving messages, and Sai Baba, the first, if you ever saw Sai give speeches and anywhere, we had a translator. He was constantly telling them they were wrong. He was constantly criticizing their translations and everything from Telugu into English. And it was the same thing going on. This young boy was he's getting to see, he was receiving, and he was talking. And Sai Baba, first things he says, Tigrett, I'm really sorry. I had to wait for a year for you to come here, but I had no way to talk to you because Madhusudan, my student, did not speak Telugu, and I transmit in Telugu. So I've been teaching Telugu for the past year. And so now he can do it. And he still, as the boy is speaking, if he doesn't say the right word, boy, Swami jumps right on him. And that's the way it was with Phyllis and I too. If Phyllis, who was receiving and was the one who was narrating, said one wrong word, he was brutal about saying it absolute. So only 5 people even knew he was there. And he had me give a speech not long after. No one knew he wasn't coming down. I was surprised when he came down. He sent me up to, anyway, long story short, he came down, he announced he was what he was, and everything. This boy was speaking through him. And as time evolved, we started this travel thing. I spoke over 100 speeches in something like 50 countries over 7 or 8 years. And thank you, Deepa, for that. This lovely lady who sent them to me, and SR, who I love and adore, who is the magic behind the Yuvacha series. Who I hope's tuned in. I love you too very much. Anyway, he started, I would be on the airplane going somewhere. we would meet at the airport. Sai Baba was not inside him. But we would go to wherever we're going. We get off the plane, and the second we get off the plane, Swami would enter his body. And then we went to whoever house it was, and the speeches were given and everything. And then we get back on the plane, he wasn't there. I traveled with Madhusudan. He was, reading magazines and watching movies, and all his friends were there. There was with it was fascinating, slowly evoluted. And then I saw, which was amazing, he allowed me to see his light body entering Madhusudan. And that was first in Australia. And suddenly it was like something, science fiction movie, but he let me see. Anything that I experienced, he let me experience. I didn't have the power to do it myself, but I just I watched him enter Madhusudan's body, and I watched him suddenly appear his side, talk his side, be his side, everything else. And then I saw him leave. And this was such an extraordinary thing. And it got more and more and more and more. And of course, Madhusudan wrote several books, which we published about this experience that he had had with this whole transition. And if you haven't read it, you should read it. I can't remember the name of it. We published 2 or 3 of them. It's all about his own transition and how he went through all of this and how he experienced it. And then Sai being inside of him, and he gives really good descriptions. And I don't know the name of that book. I know you all know it. He wrote 2 versions of it. And it explains everything in those books, exactly what was happening to him. As time went on, we were getting nearer and nearer the 96th year. My mission will last to the 96th year. But I watched it that he had brought Madhusudan up to a point now he was in his body all the time. All the time. That went on for about 2 years, at least, maybe 3, which was extraordinary to me. Extraordinary. Now, I don't know if he left his body when Madhusudan was back in his room or whatever, but suddenly he was there all the time. Many conversations with him, many wonderful moments, and he was such a joker. He was hilarious as well. It was so great to be with him, and even in that bizarre state. But he raised Madhusudan up to the Satguru level. Madhusudan is as high as you're going to get without being an avatar or a totally realized being. He is to be absolutely followed. He is to be, whatever he tells you to do, you should do it. You should believe in him. He is the caretaker until Prima Sai comes. You got to realize that all these schools, you're talking about 29 schools being built in Karnataka alone. You're talking about hospitals being built all over the world, these pediatric hospitals. And Madhusudan is the one that first saw in his body with his power and everything else. But people in the inner circle, they respected Madhusudan to the group when they knew he was a Satguru. And he's the one that's pushing the projects along and giving advice. And he should be listened to and cared for and adored, and because he's Sai's reflection. Such an important boy, man, guru, Satguru. So don't be confused by all that. If you confuse yourself, then your faith is limited. I'm so lucky to have had this experience. All I can do is tell you, yes, Sai was speaking through him. He was entering his body. And then eventually he was there all the time. And then the 96th year came, and that was the end of the mission because everything was set. Ooh, everything has gone off. Am I still on camera somewhere? Can you all hear me?
Yes, you are. Yes.
Oh, there I came back. Somebody put me in the cosmos for a moment. So I'm just telling you that, yes, that was my experience. You got to realize my experience with Sai Baba is now 5 decades, 50 years. And it's been this transition for me all the way, as it is for everyone who's devoted. And even if you came and you're a devotee and then you lost your faith, that's no big deal. In fact, it's expected. One of the greatest ways that Swami taught, always, he give you faith, and then you take it away. He give you faith, and then you take it away. He give you faith, and then you take it away. But it always came back for you to question and to see just how much faith you really had. And you take it away. That's all part of the relationship with the guru. It's all part of it. It's very, very important. Have faith, have it go. These things are not important for you to, have. The things that you should be looking at is what has happened since Sai left his body. All of these schools being built, all these people, who knows where the money comes from? All these schools being built, all of these hospitals being built, all these people energizing behind him and doing everything much more than Sai Baba did when he was in his body. We built 10 times more stuff. You know, it's just amazing. But that's what you've got to look at, the product. You know, you may not be able to understand the Sai being in the boy's body and the boy whatever and speaking through him or whatever, but look what the results are. They're pure. The results are pure. They're real. Those hospitals exist. I've been to every one of them. In fact, he's been kind enough to invite me to go to Fiji in May, I think, which will be very nice. I have some wonderful friends down there who I miss very much. So that's the way it is. And you shouldn't, you know, your faith is given, is taken away. It's all part of your evolution. And if you leave, I mean, a lot of people jump gurus. When Swami died, there was one little group that all jumped to the next guru because they needed that attention. They needed that, but that's on the outside. It's not on the inside.
Thank you, brother. It was so enlightening to listen to that. I don't know how much time we have, so.
What do you mean? I have all the time in the world. You guys just seem to want to go off and eat something or go drink some coffee or tea or come on. I'm not going to be around. I'm not going to be alive much longer.
One question that is, I think in US, all of us have in our mind is, what is your involvement with the clinic in Clarksdale and what kind of support might be needed there? And can you tell us more about it, like from your understanding, what might happen there?
When we were doing the hospitals and I was traveling with him, and he knows all about my life and where I came from. I was born in the deep South in Tennessee and was raised by African Americans. And a big part of my life, the House of Blues, was something that he asked me to do. He said, I want you to raise the consciousness of the African American contribution to American culture. And that was right up my alley. It was perfect. It was wonderful. But one day I was talking to him about, you know, the poorest state in the world is right where my people are from, Mississippi. And the poorest town's Clarksdale. And can we ever do something down there? And he was so sweet. I mean, it was I thought it was just for me for a second, but I realized later it wasn't. But he said, yes, we're going to do something in Clarksdale. We'll go there and we will open a clinic and eventually we'll have a hospital there. And I know if he says it, it's going to happen. And so we went down and I played a small role. The people in Atlanta, they're wonderful, wonderful devotees in Atlanta, did most of the heavy lifting. And it was not a hospital, it was a clinic, prenatal, postnatal clinic. And I understand now that they're going to open 50 of those in India. That is a new plan that they have. They're not expensive to build. They take care of so many people. One of the reasons all these kids are born with holes in their hearts is because of bad nutrition from the mother. And it's always in poor countries and poor places like in India or South America or here or there, many places around the world. Because in India, they're having eating rice and chapatis. And this causes that nutrition causes these babies to be born with holes in their heart or bad valves, which of course they can't function properly and they usually die before they're 10. So these clinics are even a greater idea. I thought, wow, that's fantastic. And, you know, it's just wonderful to see it keep going. You know, when Sai Baba saved Chennai, the water project, when the city of Chennai, they'd had, I think, 4 years of no monsoons. There was no water. The water taps were cut off. People were leaving the city, as I have many civilizations and cities when the water went. The poor couldn't leave. They were dying. And the rich, they had pictures of these long tankers, you know, with water going to all the rich folks' house, putting water in all their tanks, you know. And Sai Baba said, I'm going to save that. I'm going to save Chennai. And I was there when he mortgaged the ashram itself, all of the properties that had been left to him, every dime that he had, every school, all the properties, everything mortgaged to do that project. And, you know, it was so interesting because he didn't get much credit for it. When the water ran a few months later, they found an old culvert and Larson and Tobruk came along, and they put a lot of money into it too. In a very short period of time, they brought water to Chennai. But nobody, it wasn't like Sai Baba saved the city or anything. I went to him. I'm a PR fanatic. I said, Swami, you're getting no credit for these things. You're doing this other water project. Nobody seems to know about it, except your devotees. He said, oh, no, I don't want a lot of people coming down here. If I do all these things, more devotees and more people will come out of curiosity, and I won't be able to walk through the crowds anymore. He was very anti getting credit, especially publicly, for these things, which I found fascinating.
Nice. Sister Gail, please proceed with another question.
Thank you, Isaac. That's good to hear about those 50 other
Yes. Yeah, I just
clinics.
heard
Yeah, that's wonderful.
Great way to prevent more children being born, with those type of heart problems, is having pre and postnatal clinics.
Right. And perhaps as we all heal our hearts, their hearts will be healed too. So another question that's come up in the Q&A is it possible for us to purify eons of negative karma from this life and from past lives in one human birth? If so, how can we achieve this in this lifetime?
You're dreaming. You gotta realize you're talking about thousands of lifetimes. You're talking about coming into this dimension, dealing with all these damn people, creating karma with all of them. Can be positive karma, can be negative karma, the two concentric circles. So there's not a really great deal you can do in one lifetime. Forget it. You just got to bear with it and just keep crawling up that ladder, man, because there's no way you're going to get it done in one lifetime. I mean, the only person I know that was Phyllis Crystal, who dedicated her whole life. Phyllis was with Edgar Cayce when she was young. They thought she was receiving the Akashic record. She was with Carl Jung, the famous psychiatrist, therapist, who was a spiritualist as well. She was with Aldous Huxley in groups that were meeting about spirit. She was with a very unique, she was a true yogi. She studied under masters in Burma. And then she got an Indian guru in northern India. She and her husband, this was a constant search. It was her duty. And then the guy told her that enemies of his had gotten hold of his horoscope and they were going to kill him on a certain date. He was going to die. And there was nothing could be done, and that she had to go south and look for a new guru. And the guy did die on that date. And she came south looking for a guru, and when she met Sai Baba, they met, and she knew he was the one, vice versa. But that lady is Swami. I cannot tell you what it's like to be with a yogi, 4 nights a week for 10 years, because he had me go and be with her. We recorded these sessions, 690 of them. I don't know what I'm going to do with them. He told me not to. I'm going to release a few of them in this book, maybe 10 or 15. And I might have put a few out for you guys just so you can see what it was like. It's a fascinating thing because there have been many things that they say channeling, receiving, whatever you want to call it. I mean, there's the New Testament was written 200 years after Jesus died. It was obviously channeled and given. You have modern things like A Course of Miracles, or you have the Shasta mountain up here where they had the seventh ray and what's that guy's name? Oh, the Saint Germain, and all that stuff was downloaded and so forth. And it's been throughout history. I mean, this is what the great oracles were all about. This is what all those civilizations. But nobody ever had a recording of it actually happen. I have 690 recordings over 10 years, 4 or 5 nights a week. We got together where Sai, a multitude of beings and others would come and teach and teach and teach. And we would go out and help people and this and that. So I don't know what to do with them. He told me to keep them to myself. There's only 3 copies. I think one he has, I don't know where, at the ashram. One Murti, one other gentleman, and myself. I don't know where they're so amazing, but I'm going to put a few of them out there and you can see what it's like. But this may fascinate you because this woman dedicated her life. She was also a great spiritualist. She talked all over the world. She was followed by tens of thousands of people. Her book sold millions of copies, and she was a real deal. But when she became like 98, she couldn't travel as much and she was starting to fall apart. By the time she was 99, she was having really difficulties. Her whole body was, and at 100, she called me and she said, you know, you've got to go tell Sai Baba I can't do my work anymore. I can't, my body's not working, my mind, my chemistry, everything is falling apart and I'm ready to go. And so I went to him and told him, I said, Phyllis is ready to go. He said, no, 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 she can't go yet. She has one attachment. She can't, until she gets rid of that attachment, she cannot, her last life. She's a yogi. This is her very last life. Okay, and in this last life, there can be no attachments to anything. And so I told her, and she said, well, I don't understand. I've done everything. I've been with him this my whole life and this and that. And I don't understand. And then she would call me later and said, go ask him again. This attachment, I don't know what we're talking about. And I went, he said, no, she's got one attachment, just one, to be free of the mind, the body, the karma, the many lifetimes, the whole thing, to be free, last life. This is it. You can't bring anything, no attachments can you bring into this space, this new frontier. And so I told her, and she said, I don't know what he's talking about, and blah, blah, blah. And then he finally revealed that her last attachment that she had to get rid of before she could go on was her attachment to Sai Baba. So she cut that attachment and moved on at 102. I hope you can understand that.
Thank you, brother. Isaac said the next question has to do with your book, and they're asking, when is the book likely to be?
This book? You mean this one? Sai Baba actually, he called it Within and Without. He named it. He hasn't approved the cover, but I don't care what he says. I'm putting myself on the cover. I'm working on it. I have been working on it for 2 years. It's a very, very difficult thing. To combine, you know, an incredible and amazing and wild personal life that I've had, so many wild stories and things that I've experienced, you know, my material life with my spiritual life, and put the two together. How do you go? And that's why he said the book is Within, Without. You do one chapter about the inward you and one chapter about the outward you. So I've been struggling with it. I've been, even to try to find a publisher is ridiculous, because there's spiritual publishers, but they don't do commercial books. And there's commercial books that would love to do an autobiography of the guy that did the Hard Rock of the House of Blues and hung out with all these people, blah, blah, blah. But it's hard for any publisher to put the two together. I'm just finishing, I got set in front of a camera basically for 2.5 years with a professional videographer. I just told stories. And I've inserted them all. I have an incredible website. I have them all on now, and transcripts and photographs and films and all that stuff. We'll see what happens. But 2024, the guy that I am talking to, the publisher, said 2024, he probably might be able to get it out. Who knows? But I'm going to put little pieces out before something happens to me.
We sure are looking forward to that, brother. So another question is,
you like the cover, my dear? You like the cover?
if you like it, I like it.
It's perfect. What are you talking about? It's a replica of me at 22 years old. Come on, at 21 too.
When I started seeing you, you've already looked like a saint always, so I can't picture you like that.
Believe me, believe me.
Okay, so moving on, they're asking, what can you say about Prema Sai, and is he coming soon?
I can only tell you what I was told by Sai Baba and by Madhusudhan Sai and so forth. There's always rumors about Prema Sai. From the moment that Sai Baba announced, you know, decades ago that he was part of a triple incarnation, there would be 3, and there had to be 3. Because it took 3 to bring on this new age. And so Shirdi Sai, as he explained, had the energy of Shiva to break the mold, the cosmos mold. And then he said, I had Shiva Shakti, was the energy I brought in. And then Prema Sai will bring in the energy of the Christo, of Christ, which is love and brotherly love. I've always known that the new age is coming. I also know that the old age has to be somewhat destroyed for the new one to be accepted. But from all I know, and I don't listen to rumors, I only listen to what I was told, that the pre-Messiah is coming. He's coming sometime in the next 10 or 12 years. And that, look, we went around opening, you thought, ashrams around the world. They were not ashrams. They were holy little places, but they are homes for pre-Messiah and his group to stay in. As he said, Shirdi never left Maharashtra. I went all over India continuously. And the third one's going to go all over the world, speaking constantly. And when we were doing this, he said, we've got to set up residences for him. I want 18 residences built before he gets here. This will be his home where you go. And yes, it's an ashram. It's a place to do prayers. It's a little temple. It's whatever. But that's not the main thing. It's going to be a home for him and his little crew as they travel around the world. He said they're going to travel constantly. He said the first 5 or 6 years he'll stay in India. I think they said that he will announce at 19, but I don't know when that is. And he will stay in India, establishing his avatarhood with the Indian community. And then after that, his main goal, which is to change the cosmos, the energy of the planet. He's going to be traveling constantly to these 18 places, round and round and round and round and round again. He gave me a vision of him. It was quite incredible. He said, look, and there he was. It was sometime in the future. It was in a stadium, totally full, like a football stadium, and the whole infield was filled, and there was a little stage in the middle, and there was this guru just there in total meditation. And as he said, he is going to be like the Dakshinamurti, which is an ancient form of Shiva who taught without speaking. And he said, this one will not speak. He will just go and vibrate. We went to the stadium and you could hear a pin drop. There were 200,000 people there. You couldn't hear a single thing. Now, this may sound like a nice fairy tale to you, but not to me. Because when I was looking for Sai Baba, which I went for 7 months and traveled, I was 24, put a backpack on. I knew he was calling me to India. I had to find out who it was. I went to every temple, ashram, anywhere I heard there was a yogi, anything. I was desperate. But one that I heard about, and I went down to see, was actually in Bangalore. It was called the Shiva Bala Yogi. And I was told that he teaches without speaking. So I went to where he was, and there was a cupola and hundreds of people underneath it. And as I approached, this energy, this energy started just pounding me. And I got frightened and I ran away. But I knew exactly what the Shiva Bala Yogi was doing in his level is what the same way that Shiva taught in that format, which is South Indian, Dakshinamurti. You can look it up. It's quite amazing. Swami made a statue for me, a huge one, which I have in my prayer room, which he gave me many, many years ago. He said, this is what pre-Messiah will be like. So, you know, it's a fairy tale. This whole life is a fairy tale. The whole idea of a new age, golden age, where we're brought up to the level of, I call it the collective, which I've seen, brought up to a level where you see everything is connected. Trees, birds, plants, everything, every single thing is connected. Everything that he's created, he stays with. He's in every leaf, he's in every flower, he's in every tree, he's in every animal. And they're all connected. When you get to that level, you realize that you can't put out anything on that network. It's like a network of connections. So you can't put anything negative out on that network. It will harm everything. In fact, it's happening now. Everything that's going on is going out on the network. And when you get to that level, individuals in mass get to that level, then the world will change.
Wonderful, wonderful, brother. Thank you.
Thank you. You know, earlier, Isaac, you said something about you were going to show us something later on. Did you want to show us some things?
Yeah, I'll show you something. This is a book that I highly recommend. Of course, when I went to India, the one thing at the Bhagavad Gita is the jewel of the East. It's the greatest book written 5,280 years ago by Purna avatar named Krishna. I tried to read those damn books. I mean, there were hundreds of them with Bhagavad Gita. It was done in a poetic, weird language. It's a poem done in, I guess, Sanskrit, and it's weird and difficult to follow. And it's 5,000 years old. And to speak, many, many people have tried to translate. Excuse me. Many people have tried to translate it, but I found at Ramakrishna's temple, when I first went to India and traveling, I thought Ramakrishna was the one I was looking for, even though he died in 1865. I went to his temples, and I started going to his place, and everywhere I went, I'd go to the incredible ceremonies they had and the beautiful bhajans that they sang at the Ramakrishna temple. Anyway, I was at the Ramakrishna temple in Chennai, and they have a famous Adanta book publishing company that came out of Ramakrishna's life, and they published books. And I picked up, I mean, it was 3 rupees. I don't know how much, I don't think it's much more, shouldn't. Anyway, it's this tiny little book. Yeah, see? And it's the best. And it's done by, I can't even pronounce his name, by Swami Prabhavananda, and a very famous spiritual man, amazing scholar named Christopher Ursherwood. And it has it's published by the Vedanta Press, and it's got a most incredible introduction I've ever read in my life about religion, about Aldous Huxley, the great spiritualist from the 40s. And you must, if you want to try to read the Bhagavad Gita, this is the only one. This little book. I used to pay 2 rupees for it. I don't know how much it costs now. I'm sure you can get it on Amazon or someplace. I might give it to people, and it's just the easiest to read, the easiest to understand. And all of the secrets of how everything works is in this book. That's one thing I want to show you.
Thank you, sir. There is a question that says, Swami has said you and Swami have had many lifetimes together. Are they on this earth?
As far as I know. No, look, the only reason I'm here, you're interested in talking to me, is I've had this unique relationship with this avatar, which was, as you heard me read, this was no easy way to get here. I spent 15 years coming over 100 times to India just to sit in the vibration at Puttaparthi. And I would only come for a day or 2 days, as he said in that document, and then leave and then come back. I just wanted to bathe. And one of the things he was teaching me, which was so incredible over those years, because I realized that Sai Baba was an illusion, that he was just a reflection, and that God is not, people would wait for him to come out wherever he was, and they go worship his body. Oh, will he look at me? Will he take my letter? Will he make me something? And they were creating duality. God's over there, I'm over here. That's the biggest mistake. That's the killer. That's the end. You're never going to get anywhere as long as you think God is somewhere else except inside of you. The whole cosmos is inside of you. So it's very important, to me during those years, what he taught me, which has made it so easy to deal with him when he was in his formless state. He was teaching me the formless. God is the formless. It's not a body. It's the formless. It's an energy. It's energy. And that's what he demonstrated by coming back in a formless state. God, if you didn't get it then, I mean, it was ridiculous. But it's just the formless. God is formless. Your soul is leaves your body is formless. That's divine. You are divine. God made you in his image, and it's not a body image. It's a spiritual image. It's the formless, which resides inside of you. It cannot die. It is immortal.
Nice. Well, there's one interesting question. It says, I have wondered Why the Sai avatars have always incarnated in male form. My heart wishes for an avatar to be in a female form to uplift women and girls who are still disadvantaged in the material society world. That would mean so much for women and girls everywhere and for spiritual inspiration and also to inspire men on equality of genders. Would love to hear your thoughts on this.
You know, I've had many women say this. I mean, if they were all female avatars, the men would be pissed off, you know. But you should look at it that way. He equally was male and female. He was, and so are you. You know, this whole thing of creativity, it happens when you balance. If you want to channel God through your work, what you're doing, everything, you have to balance the male and female portions because you are half male, half female. And until that balance is complete, you'll never get the transmissions to come in. So it's a balance between heart and mind, male and female. It's as simple as that. I mean, Leonardo da Vinci, well, how do you think he thought of all of it? He was channeling them. How? He had the perfect balance between male and female. That boy who's playing down in the subway, a busker, playing his guitar, and his hat is filled with coins, and everybody's standing around because he's perfect. He's balanced male and female. That's why his hat's full of money. That's why people are standing around, because it's pure. It's amazing. It's incredible. They stop walking to work. I've just seen it. You know, it's a balance between male and female heart and mind.
Okay.
So I wouldn't worry about that too much. Anyway, women do more than men. Men are ridiculous and lazy. Women carry spirituality. You know, it's ridiculous. Women do 10 times more work than men do. And they're the ones that have the compassion and the mercy. The men don't have compassion and mercy. Their female side does. So I wouldn't worry about that too much, really.
Thank you.
And I must say one other thing. We started off this session, the first speaking of God in the Vedas, was a female god, Gayatri. Gayatri was the first mention of God, divinity, the absolute, ever in a written book, the first written book, which is Sanskrit. It was her. Yeah. That's who we just, and all the mantras, Swami has said it, I'm sure you've heard it. All the mantras are inside the Gayatri mantra. It's the most powerful thing you can say. But you should look at the translation of the Gayatri mantra before you just speak those words. You don't even know what they mean. When you look at the translation of the Gayatri mantra, you will understand the power of that mantra. It's amazing. It's about enlightenment.
Thank you, Sir Isaac. Thank you so much, really, for your time.
Are you getting rid of me already?
No. We would love to.
I can't believe you're trying to scare me off.
Not at all. I'm concerned basically about your coughing and the time you spend, and I would like to.
Don't worry, I've got lots of coconut milk here. I'm very happy.
Okay, we will ask you more, maybe 3 more questions. But, sir, I would like to if you don't mind me, I would like to ask you if you would give us the honor and the blessing and join us also next time to continue. There are a lot more questions, and if you could kindly let us know, if you could bless us with that opportunity.
You should take advantage of the one you've got now, because I don't know how much longer I'm going to be on the planet. I'll tell you, somebody asked me to go down and see this program they were giving down at the LA County morgue a couple of weeks ago. I didn't think about it. I went, okay, I'll go down to some program. I don't know. And they took me into this morgue, LA County morgue, which had 20,000 square feet of bodies stacked up, 750 bodies. And they were bringing them in while we were there. They're bringing them in and they bring them on this table. They take them out of the zip bags and then they roll them in this plastic. But they were stacked up 5 high. It was like Raiders of the Lost Ark, that last scene where these rows and rows and rows and rows. And they put them in this plastic, but like arms and legs and hands are all sticking out. They're not in the bag anymore. The smell of decomposure was extraordinary. And I sat there in awe, realizing just how short life is. They brought in 70 new bodies while I was there. I was there for 2 hours. And it's just so short. And it's just, you realize that the flesh is meaningless. They were empties. They were all empties, like a Coca-Cola, you drink it and it's an empty. They're all empties. But it was a frightening reminder, and I'll say frightening, just how short life is.
It is true. It is true. Although I'm going to be hated by many people, they've been sending me messages that Isaac Sir is coughing, he's tired.
I'm not interested in that. Don't be silly. Jesus, I've got a lung condition. I've got cancer. I've got a heart condition I'm supposed to die from. So don't worry about this. This has been going on a long time.
Thank you, sir. We will ask questions. We'll continue until 7:30 with your permission and your blessings. At 7:30, we would like to ask for your blessings to join us next time. And thank you, Isaac. Gail, please go ahead.
Okay, well, as you were talking about the morgue, I was thinking about one of the earlier questions that one person sent, and it's like, in the Katha Upanishads, there's a young man who is Nachiketa who faces death. And it's like, what words do you have to talk about facing Yama, death?
Oh, I have no problem at all. I just wanted to complete as much of my mission as I can, as all of us should feel that way before you go. You're all going to deteriorate. As I have terminal cancer. You know, I go every 3 months. I don't know how much longer I'm going to live. You have a heart disease and all these type of things. The body, you know, it's just amazing. The whole cosmos is built on this amazing machine of energy. That machine of energy is birth and death. Birth and death, the power of birth, the power of death, and everything is in that realm. The stars are being born and being died throughout the entire universe. Everything on this planet is dying and growing, and it's an engine of energy that's unbelievable. It's the engine that makes the cosmos run. This birth and death, birth and death. It's really great. I mean, when you're going through it, it may scare you a little bit, but it's so, I see it so clearly. I've been shown so clearly. It's nothing, I'd be more frightened of being born than dying. Who knows where I'd be born into? But neither here nor there. It's absolutely, it's a drag. You know, it's a drag, but then growing up is a drag. Look at all the things you have to learn and all the pains you go through and all the difficulties and the hell and this, all the thoughts of hate and lust and this and that and a million other things that everyone has to experience and go through. And especially when you're young, so difficult. It's coming from you everywhere. There's too much input. There's the sexuality, and then there's reality, and then there's, you know, there's this human need to be loved by others and satisfy others, and the parents are driving you crazy. And, you know, it's more difficult, I think, to be between the ages of 3 and 30, to tell you the truth.
Thank you, sir. The next question, it reads, Swami has said that you were changed from an untamed wild tiger to a tamed domestic pet tiger. How did you conquer your vices, your attachments, and challenges?
He just slowly, you know, rubbed all the edges off, because I was in his care and because I was there so much with him, and I was so lucky to be, you know, and there's many of you that never got the chance to see him in the flesh and Puttaparthi, or never got the chance to go there and realize his incredible dynamic self, you know. But it's just, I don't know. Again, I go back to my evolution, and that's my book is going to talk about it. But the evolution was not only this wild life that I led, and no different than a lot of other people, but how he also used me and my energy and my power to serve others through that wildlife. And then at the same time, he brought me into a spiritual realm that, you know, I've belonged in and I needed to be in. I came in to help him with his, Phyllis and I, to help him with his mission. So, you know, it's, you know, the Sai is just a reflection of the absolute, as is Zarathustra, as is Lao Tzu, as is Confucian, as and all those guys. You know, they rise themselves to a level of consciousness that's so high it affects everybody around them. Look at all the great civilizations. I'll never forget going to Tulum, which is a Mayan city on the peninsula down there. And I heard about this many, many years ago. Nothing was there. And something was calling me, go to Tulum, go to Tulum. I went there. And as I walked into this ruins around the sea, I was overwhelmed with the knowledge that a divine being had been there. And I fell to the ground and I wept and cried. But it was out of bliss. It was like, oh my God, how could I be here in this vibration? And it's so funny. One of the guys, a professor there was only one guy at the time. He came by and he helped me up and everything. I said, look, there was a divine being here. There has to be a divine. He said, yes, of course there was. Let me show you. He took me up to show me the temples. And they had this upside down man coming down. This is the temple of the descending God. We had an avatar here, is what he was saying. And there was an avatar in Greece. That was Socrates. And there's avatars in every giant civilization that rose. It rose around the energy of those holy, holy high men. The vibration rose everybody else up. And then it has its day and it goes away. But it's happened. All avatars have been all over this planet. I mean, no one even knows about the Egyptians ones, but there were Egyptian ones as well.
Okay. Is it my turn, Brother Mehran?
Yes, please go ahead.
So, I want to say a comment, Brother Isaac, on the chat. Mary Gwen Dungan says that she's one of those people who has telepathic communication with Swami. And Swami told her, Tigrett, you're not going anyplace anytime soon. So,
I'm so scared. That's the truth. I swear. I'm 74. I can barely walk around. That's okay. I'm sure he's going to keep me around and get this book done and who knows what else. But that's what my main thing is, to hopefully finish this book and then I'll be able to go home.
we all are waiting for your book too, but we also want you to be around. So the other question, actually many questions are around this line, so I'm gonna just bundle it up and ask you, what are your current spiritual practices and what do you do to prevent getting pulled towards your temptations? And someone even asked, do you still chant the Shu Suktam every day as Swami told you to?
All of those things are tools to keep you focused. I have, some of you may know that Swami gave me a room in Puttaparthi and said it was going to become a baby mandir, and that he was going to send me a present and that we were going to have priests come and there would be pujas there twice a week. He told me all these things and gave me this room. Then all of a sudden, one day, some months later, a guy arrived, 10 men actually, knocking on my door and said, this is a present from Swami. And it was a lingam. It was huge. It was like 3 feet tall. And it weighed 725 kilos, it weighed. And he said, this is for your temple. And they told me that they had searched in Tamil Nadu for the sacred, it's volcanic stone. It's so heavy. And they found a huge one. They sent it on a truck up to Rajasthan to a temple there, an ashram where they carve all the lingams and the gods for temples and stuff like that. And that it had been a 1,500 kilos and is now 725. And he brought it and he put it in the room. Next thing I know, Swami said, other people will come. And the next thing, the Shiva thing arrived and all the people came. Then there was a certain amount of it. And Swami gave me instructions to now start doing these pujas. So we did a puja on Mondays for Shiva and Fridays for Lakshmi on their days. And I would get up every day on the days of the pujas. I'd get up and, take a bath at 5 o'clock, put flowers on all the gods. There were gods, and people kept bringing me more gods from Japan and Zoroastrian things. And people just kept coming and bringing, all these things. And he assigned a priest who came those 2 days and did a very formal pujas. And Sai Baba said, don't invite anybody, I'll invite them. So some days we'd open the door and there would be 5 people sitting there. We go through this long puja and songs, and oh, it's incredible. And sometimes I'd open the door, there'd be 100 people standing in the hallway. It's 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning. We gave about, over the years that I had that place and he had me doing this, we gave over 2,000 pujas. And we figured by the number that came during the week, we tried to estimate it, but I don't know, maybe 10,000 people came over those many years for that event. And of course, it's such an extraordinary thing. I brought all of those things from that temple, quite amazing. And I brought all of them and I have them here in my house. And I have, as I had there, I have the Gayatri mantra and a Shiva mantra and Swami's voice playing 24 hours a day. And I had it there in Puttaparthi as well for those 10, 15, whatever years it was I was doing it. And now all of those objects and those things are here with me. And there I have a prayer room, and the mantras are playing 24 hours a day. And right before going on air with you wonderful folk, I went in and sat and talked to Swami. He taught me to say this, you've probably heard the expressions before, but Lord, think through me. Because the first thing you do is you think of something. And Lord, please speak through me. When you think of something, the next thing you do, you speak, you define it. Lord, please act through me. Because the next thing you get it, then you've talked about it. Now you're going to develop it and build it, whatever. Lord, love through me, and Lord, please breathe through me. So that's what I just did. I went into the little ashram there because I knew I was addressing you and I wanted him to run the show, not me. So I went in and made that little prayer, and then I turned my computer on.
So beautiful.
Beautiful. That's lovely. Thank you for sharing that part of your life with us.
My pleasure, my duty.
There's also been a lot of questions that I'm going to try to consolidate. It's like, by becoming Brahmin this lifetime, can we end the cycle of birth and death and thereby never be born again? And then, isn't purification accelerated while the avatar is here? It seems to be about a lot of people thinking about following Sadhguru's teachings and self-realizing and realizing the Atma or becoming Brahman.
Thinking too much. Look, the avatars have come, as Swami has explained, and they come not to have ashrams and write books and have devotees and have all this stuff going on. They come just to vibrate. When the Dharma of the planet is not quite on schedule, on course, they come to just vibrate on the planet. That's it. So anything else they do, build ashrams and hospitals and have devotees and have people come, that's secondary. Because when they leave, listen, whole religions, look at all the masters that came. They had 12 people around this guy, 50 people around that guy. But when they left, entire religions, Buddha had 11, 13 disciples. I've been to his place where his ashram was, and now, it just, all that energy just explodes. And it's that energy, and it's collected and it's shared with many people that have people raise themselves. They find through Buddhism and the vibrations that was left behind from the master, they find their path. They find it through Zarathustra. They find it through Lao Tzu. They find it through whatever masters from their cultures that they've made contact with. They leave it, and they're still here. Those masters don't leave. That's why I would go to Ramakrishna's temple and feel him there. And wow, he died in 1865. Or you can go to Puttaparthi. Is now, I just got somebody from the village just wrote me and said, oh, it's incredible. They're having all the big services have happened again, and now they're celebrating everything, and people are coming in from everywhere. And there was a big group from Tamil Nadu in of 2,000 or 3,000 the other day for some festival, and then there were 5,000 that came in for this. And so that energy of that ashram, without the guru, just the history is still attracting people. People are searching. People are searching. And it's much cooler, I'm telling you, to have him not there and have the people come and be more involved with their own evolution and growth and absorbing the energy than being distracted by this little guru who's walking around driving everybody crazy.
So Isaac, so the next question reads, how does one stop ruminating over the past? What is the spiritual approach that you suggest?
Well, you know, people make waste, they get into that tamasic state, delusion, worrying about the past. Oh, this happened. Oh, that happened. Oh, this is so terrible. That's so hard. They never leave. They're always thinking about the past, or they're thinking about the future. Oh, I wish this would happen. This would happen. As Swami said, you know, the past is past. Forget about it. There's nothing you can do. There's nothing you can carry from it. Whatever you've learned from it, you've already learned. Don't dwell on it because that's just a waste of time. And in the future, no one knows. It's unpredictable. It's the now. Where are you now? You can't take these things from the past into your life. They just soil the now. Forget about them. I've had horrible things happen to me, as many people have, and I could dwell on them, and they've been extreme, to say the least, but I don't want to know. That energy's gone. I don't know anything about it. And I'm not going to blame myself for having a normal life of ups and downs and craziness that everyone has. Just be compassionate and love all, serve all. That's it. But really.
Okay, brother. I think this, because of the time frame, maybe one of the last things we can share with each other.
Okay, I'll give a really long answer.
Please do. But it's
Yes,
actually
please do.
it's a request actually. I think you said earlier that Swami gave you this statue of Premasai and it's in your puja room and people are requesting.
No, he did not. He gave me a statue of he gave me, of course, the great lingam, which, by the way, he had me bring everything with me. The lingam, he said, a family will come by your room in Puttaparthi, and the lingam was energized, because see, all that energy and all those prayers and all that went inside the lingam. That's how these objects of faith happen. You know, I'll never forget, I went to Tirupati, and I'd always worried about this idol worship, whatever was going on. And of course, Tirupati is wild. If you've been there, several 100,000 people a week come through there, and they're so excited that this little doorway, you look in the doorway, and there's 3 rooms away, as long as this looks like a little statue of the god Balaji. And I went there with a very famous person, and they didn't let anyone in the whole compound. Just this person who was a politician, and they had guys with machine guns and this and that, and on rooftops, and just me and that person, and the priests were there, and they said, well, why don't you come in and meditate right with Balaji himself? So we went through the 3 rooms, and there was a huge statue. The thing is bloody 12, 14 feet tall. It's huge. And the priest said, this is the most powerful spot, right? I mean, 2 feet away, this is the most powerful spot. So I sat there and went into meditation, and I was shown that all this devotion and love that these people come to that place, and they're absolutely out of their minds with devotion. It's the wildest thing to watch the whole concession go and finally get this one doorway and they push you away. That it's filled with devotion and this love and for this God. The stone is filled to the max, just like all those pujas we had with that lingam that Swami bought. It's filled to the max. So when you are there in those ancient temples that are constantly prayers are being given, which enliven it completely, it's filled to the brim. That energy of yours goes to it, and it's back to you, back and forth. It becomes this amazing thing, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Those things are filled with divine energy. Where did it come from? From human beings who are divine. They put it in there. They put it into the lingam in Puttaparthi. Swami said the lingam has to remain in Puttaparthi. After all those years and all those pujas, the lingam has to, he said, a family will come and they will take care of it and they'll use it, but it must stay in Puttaparthi. This whole thing you were doing was just to energize that lingam energize that lingam so it could remain there and vibrate after I'm gone. And there it sits. So I forgot what the question was. I do want to talk much longer if you let me.
People thought it was a statue of Premasai somehow. It was the lingam you were talking about.
No. It was a lingam, and there's the Dakshinamurti, the former Shiva, was the one that he had made by one of the most famous artists, and it's a Kunchala. It's 7 metals. Thing weighs 200 pounds. It's huge, with 4 little Brahmins sitting at its feet. They were rishis actually at the feet, and they were manifested, the story goes, by Brahma, and they were supposed to go to the earth, and they took one look at the Shiva and said, we're staying with him. So every time you see this Dakshinamurti, there's 4 little rishis at his feet.
Yeah. Wonderful, brother. We have Miran, brother, over to you. I mean, time-wise.
Thank you. Sir, I have one last question, and we greatly appreciate.
I have a whole list of questions myself.
Well, we would love to be asking you. It's just the fact that I'm getting people are concerned about your health. You're tired.
That's nonsense. Go ahead.
The question says, any advice on how we can take greater advantage of the spiritual opportunities that we have been blessed with and serve Swami in a more impactful way during these auspicious times?
I'm just telling you, it's compassion. Compassion is your divinity coming out. Compassion, mercy, caring, love, worship of gods, worship. They're archetypes. You worship these gods, it gives them energy. They're real. I've been to these worlds where these gods from all these different cultures are, and they're powerful because they've been worshipped. He sent me to India, to Egypt, to bring back the goddess Sekhmet through prayers, and I brought her back with me. I got married. He said, you've got to go to Egypt for your honeymoon because I want you to bring something back for me. And it ended up being Sekhmet, this powerful, very dangerous goddess who I hope is still protecting me. But, you just have to, there's no set rules, but kindness and love and focus. You have all these distractions coming in, and it's like, oh, I think we're on a spiritual life. There's no time, there's no place. How do I combine the two? But you focus. You focus when you meet somebody. You focus when you're in a place that, you just focus. You have to bring in that fabric is there. It's so easy to access, but it's not this kinetic weirdness, of the mind, in the material world, this Maya world. It's there. It's more powerful than the Maya of this world.
Sir Isaac, our utmost gratitude for your wisdom, for your love, for your caring, for your friendship, for really all that you've showered us during the last 2 hours. And we pray to Swami, and we ask you that we may have this opportunity again and benefit from this incredible ocean of love, light, wisdom, and really hard to experience this opportunity we have.
Well, look, it's my honor and my duty to share what little I have learned with you. And I'm very passionate about what I've learned. I'm very passionate about the gifts that it took me years to discover I had, which were basic gifts of giving to others in the proper way. So this is a big opportunity for me with this new technology to talk to people all over the world and share what little I know with them. So it's my honor and my duty to do this. And I said I wasn't going to do it. And then I was listening to a tape of Phyllis and I and Swami from 1990. And he said, your duty is to talk to people. You must talk. I went, oh my God, he won't leave me alone, really. But always guiding me, thank goodness, through my feeble mind.
Thank you very much from the bottom of my heart. And I'm sure everybody feels the same way. And judging by the attendance that they have got, everyone is listening. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. God bless all of you. God bless all of you. Don't take life so seriously.
Thank Thank you, Brother Isaac. You know, you are one of the most passionate, compassionate people and most charismatic people in the Sai firmament we've ever listened to. So we will insist that you talk to us again soon. And, you know, just the talk today that you gave, it's been 2 hours and it's gone by in a flash. It's just quite amazing. So I wanted to thank our, you know, co-admin team of Raja, SLN, Sujaya, and Sister Janet, and also thank Rashmi, Mehran, and Gail for their questions that they pulled together. And we'd love to see you again. I'd like to request Brother Sundar to close out with just a few words.
Before I get into any other closing words, I have to say to Isaac, you know, your life is one of the most fascinating, inspirational lives, and it needs to go well beyond the Sai devotee group. You know, I think the book is obviously something that will reach out, but when Hollywood makes a movie from that book, that's when this story will really get told. And I hope that does happen. Swami will make it happen.
Well, Swami did say that the book would be very popular. And he said, and then he was, I don't know where he kept talking and telling you, oh, Tigrett's writing a book on metaphysics. He was upsetting everybody. All the Indian folk were saying, why has that guy got metaphysics? Why did he give it to him? Anyway, so it was quite amazing because he said a film will be made, Tigrett, of the book.
Ah, okay.
But if you don't watch your health, you won't be alive to see the film. That's what he told me.
Well, here's a trivial question. Who should play Isaac Tigrett?
Isaac Tigrett, of course.
Yes, exactly.
That would be wonderful. Anyway, it was a fascinating evening. We are so grateful.
My pleasure.
Yeah.
Sairam to
Sairam.
you.
Sairam.
Vivek, you want to finish with the Shanti?
Yes, you are no man 3 Shantis. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Sairam, all, thank you so much for your time today. Thank you, Brother Isaac.
You know, Swami told me about the Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. He said, you must, when you're giving them, maybe some of you know this, the reason there's 3. The first Shanti is for your body. The second Shanti is for your health. The third Shanti is for the world. So it's about spreading the word. It's the same wonderful thing he's always done. It has many meanings. Shanti, everybody.
Thank you. Sairam.
Sairam.